Preparedness doesn't have to look like bunkers and questionable MRE meals that nobody actually wants to eat. For me, preparedness looks like a pantry stocked with real whole grains. This is an incredibly simple food to store. It can last years, if not decades, with very minimal prep. And when you're ready to consume it, it turns into the most delectable and highly nutritious bread that you have ever had. So today I'm really excited to take you guys into my pantry and show you how I source and store grains for my own family's food security. Welcome to the Grain to Table mini-series. If you've ever been curious about how you go from whole grain to fresh milled loaf, this is the perfect series for you. I'm gonna take you through everything from sourcing and storing grains, how to choose the right flour, the right mill, and even how to bake your own easy loaf of fresh milled flour bread. So why would you want to source whole grains versus flour or cornmeal, things that are already kind of prepped and ready to go? Well, as soon as you start to mill and grind these grains, they begin to break down, they deteriorate, and they lose their nutritional value. Flour and cornmeal, things like that, are also going to be more prone to moisture damage. They can easily absorb the moisture in the air, funky smells. They just go bad faster, and they're more high maintenance to store. Grains like this in their whole form are already kind of pre-packaged. The seed is trying to preserve its nutritional quality as long as possible. So it's got the bran, the germ, and the endosperm all packaged nicely, doing their very best to preserve their vitality and their nutrition for years to come. If we leave it in its already perfectly designed packaging, it's going to hold up very well with minimal interference on our part. Whole grains are also a lot more versatile than pre-prepped and pre-ground things. You can soak and sprout whole grains, and then you can also add them whole into soups and stews. You can cook any kind of grain just like you would rice and have kind of a little side grain dish. And of course, you can also grind them and turn them into flours. So having the whole grain, you can see, is a lot more versatile and usable in so many more ways than having just a pre-ground flour on the shelf. Sourcing good grains is really important for a few reasons. One, you want to get something that is organic, glyphosate free. If you want to get a really good, nutritious, wholesome food to stock for your family, those things are important. Now, secondly, you want to get something that is clean, that isn't going to be a lot of hassle for you to deal with. Occasionally, you will get grain from a company that has a lot of weed seeds, maybe even small rocks. You want to look for a company that is reputable for having really clean grains, because I tell you what, it is an enormous pain in the tush to sit and sort through your grains and pick out every little speck of plant matter and little rocks. You don't want to be dealing with that when you're buying big 50-pound bags of grains. Now, let me show you some weedy grain as an example. This is full of all kinds of these little tiny weed seeds that are probably not going to hurt me if I eat them, but I don't really want them in my food. And so it takes a lot of time and effort to go through and pick these all out. Now, on the other hand, you can find grains that are really clean. There are no weed seeds, minimal chaff. That is what you really want to look for, because this, you can give a cursory glance, pop it right in your mill, and not be worried. It saves you so much time and effort when you're actually using these to feed your family. I get all of my grains from Azure Standard. They source from farms all over the US to bring quality organic grains directly to my town for an easy community drop point pickup. If you've never heard of Azure before, you're missing out. They are a family-owned and operated company out of Oregon. They started small over here in the Pacific Northwest, and they have grown to cover the entire US. They have over 3,500 drop points, I think now. So no matter where you're located, even Alaska and Hawaii, they might be able to deliver to you. It's a great resource for so many wonderful whole foods, and I do so much of my shopping with them, which is why I'm really excited that they have partnered with me on today's video. If you are brand new to Azure, you can use the code PATIENCE15 and the link in this video's description to get 15% off your first order of $100 or more. Now, little jars like this are great for just out on the counter, things that I'm using all the time, but if you really want to be storing this for any prolonged length of time, months, years, decades, how do you go about that? Well, it's actually super simple. Let me show you my setup. So, I use 5-gallon food grade buckets, and the real key here is the Gamma lid. So if you're getting into these at all and you've ever messed with the lids on these, huge pain in the butt, really deters you from getting into these and using them. The Gamma lid, super easy to install, and you can get in and out of these very easily. So I get my buckets and lids from Azure as well. They're sold separately, so if you already have a bunch of buckets, you can just grab the lids. These are so worthwhile. They're pest-free. It's a really nice tight seal here. So you can pour your grains straight into these buckets, pop on the lid, perfect for storing for several months, maybe even up to a year. Now, if you want to store longer than that, there's one more, maybe two more steps that you could throw in to make this really optimal storage for long term. That would be oxygen absorbers. Oxygen absorbers are going to take this to the next level, and you could pair them with Mylar bags. And I really wouldn't go through the effort and the cost of that unless you are planning to have this stashed for 3 to 10 years or more. If you're going to be rotating through this every 6 months to a year, I think it's unnecessary. But if you're wanting to squirrel things away really long term, all you do is look up the right size for the size of container. These have different sizes, and it'll tell you right on the website what size you need for what size container. And you just pop these straight in with your grains, a couple on the bottom, a couple on top, put the lid on really good, and you're golden. And you might want to check on them every year or so to make sure that your oxygen absorbers don't need to be refreshed. But that's really all there is to it. Now, I don't personally squirrel away food for decades, but I do like to have enough on hand for several months, and I rotate through my food storage at least every year. That's me personally. So I don't really mess with oxygen absorbers and Mylar bags very much because it's just overkill for how quickly I turn over my stock. So you're convinced you need some whole grains for your long-term food storage, and you know how you're going to store them. Simple. But there is a plethora of whole grains to choose from, so which ones should you start with? Personally, I think if you are baking bread at all, the best place to start, the absolute simplest foundation, is to choose one of the hard wheats. There is hard red and there is hard white. They are both lovely for different reasons, but they both make a nice, strong, high-protein bread flour. Hard red wheat is going to give you more of that brown bread flavor, the classic 90s whole wheat loaf that your mom made. It is delicious. It has more of that molassesy, nutty flavor, but it's not everybody's cup of tea. For a more mild yet super flavorful and amazing loaf, I would choose a hard white wheat. This is actually my family's preference. They like both, but I think the hard white wheat does win out a little bit for us. It is more versatile and it's a little bit more mellow in the flavor. So either way, a hard wheat is the foundation. Beyond that, if you're doing muffins, cookies, pastries, a soft wheat is going to be the obvious beginner choice. But even beyond that, there are a ton of fabulous and immensely flavorful ancient grains and different grains that you can experiment with. Purple barley, kamut, einkorn, rye, spelt. There are so many wonderful grains to explore. And some of my favorites are the kamut and the purple barley right now for cookies, muffins, pastries, things that don't require a lot of gluten development, the flavor and the texture is out of this world. But we're gonna get more into that down the road in this series. Painted mountain corn is a grain that I grow myself and I really enjoy it. I'm gonna do videos on this in the future. So we've covered why you should be stocking up on whole grains, where you can source them, how to store them, and some foundational basics of where you might want to start as far as which grains to stock. Tomorrow we're going to get into all of the reasons why I will never return to using store-bought flour in my own baking. I'm super excited to see you there, but don't forget, if you found any value in today's video, to give it a thumbs up, leave me a comment, let me know what you think, and share this with a friend who could also use a little bit of peaceful preparedness in their own pantry. All right, I'll see you guys tomorrow.